Welcome to this week's, actually, I've forgotten what we call it, Jackie, this week's investor sort of catch up and tips. How are you going?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm having a good week. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. I've gotten over the last week we were talking about the air cons,
Mm.
and I'm about to create a video about air cons. Sorry to keep on harping on about it like I did last week, but with the I guess for clients and all of that to understand that aircon repairs are actually really expensive. We're
Mm.
finding that they're between sort of around the 700 to 1,000 for a split system and around $1,000 to $3,000 for an evaporative. And so that's actually been quite hard at the moment, sort of dealing with that. So that last 7 days has been all around spending lots of clients' money on aircon repairs, which has not been has not made us the favorite people around, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's maintenance, the never ending battle on it. So yeah,
Yeah.
pretty mandatory at this time of the year though. I think everyone gets pretty cranky if it's left untreated.
Absolutely. But I am going to bring up my week's suburb of the week. And I don't think I've mentioned this area before, but it's an area called Stratton. If
Mm.
I have mentioned it before, it's still coming up again anyway. And so I'm finding that I'm getting a few clients with budgets back down at that sort of 400, 450,000. Ash, where can I buy with that price point? And there actually are still areas. So Stratton is an area where it's in the east, so east of Perth, and there is zero properties available for rent currently in that suburb, which is really exciting. You can pick up a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. They're marketed for about 379,000, 400,000 at the moment. And those ones, it's actually really hard to price because there's nothing available to compare to. So basically for 3x1, like a stock standard home that is on the market for about 380,000, I'm currently pricing for about 450 per week from a rent return. To be honest, it could actually go more than that because there's such a huge supply and demand issue. But I think 450 is a pretty good stock base rent return on something like that. So I am quite curious to see how that area folds. And yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anywhere else in Australia you can buy a house on a block for under 400,000. So for me, that is my suburb to watch this week.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be something as we see, over the next 10 years. I think eventually, in the next 5 to 10 years, there won't be any suburbs that you can buy for under 400,000. So you kind of have a little bit of reassurance with growth there. Similar kind of queries that I'm getting, where can I buy under 450, 500? The suburb and the region I want to talk about today is actually Woodridge. So that 4114 postcode, which is Logan Central, Woodridge and Kingston. So Woodridge it was the highest rated growth suburb in 2021. So they had 58% growth in that 1 year. I've been looking into the data on it. So even just this last year, we've had 7.5% growth. Further to that, the appeal for Woodridge, like it did nothing for about 7 years, and then we had a great run through COVID, and then the rents have kind of followed on with that. Something with Woodridge, Logan Central, and there's a bit of a stigma in those areas. And to be honest, like it's pretty low socioeconomic kind of area at the moment. So my tip more trending for this area is I think there's still opportunity if you're willing to kind of stack some strategies on top of each other. Like it's a great area for granny flats. A lot of the lands are over 800 square meters or over 700, so you've got subdivision potential there. And the rents have gone up 43% in the last 3 years there, so
Wow.
pretty crazy. So be wary, as in the demographic is low. Make sure you've got your specialized landlord insurance and an excellent property manager, because the probability of something happening in that area is probably a little bit higher than other areas. But I think it's got potential. It's 30 minutes from the CBD. It's still very close.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, like with investors that are buying, I call those areas high risk, high reward.
Mm.
And they are suitable for a lot of investors, and they're also not suitable for others. So if you are a very nervous investor who counts your dollar, sure, that might not be the best suburb for you. But I remember talking to a client where he was on a lot of money. I think he might have been a FIFO worker, earned a lot of money. And he said to me, Ash, if the tenant didn't pay, I can actually afford to cover the rent for 6 or 12 months while I'm waiting on insurance. He goes, so that doesn't bother me. I'm looking for that capital growth. And so someone like him, who understands that, sure, there's going to be times that the rents are a little bit more irregular, but the high risk, high reward outweighs his decision. So, you know, that situation, that client is not going to be bothered by that lower demographic and that instability, because it gets sorted eventually with maybe insurance, but you just have to be able to buffer it while that gets done.
Yeah, and I think we talk a lot about this in the course as well, the mindset of a successful investor and removing the emotion from that. But if you think about it from a perspective, like most insurance claims, if you've got specialized landlord, will pay out within, like, I think 3 to 4 months maximum, sometimes quicker. If, as long as you've got a buffer there that's going to support that, and you've got the right people managing it, it's like it's just a mindset game. If you can overcome that, that's where I was listening to a podcast. I can't remember his name. Is it Steve McKinnon or something? The guy who wrote the book 0 to 130 Properties in 3 Years.
Okay.
I was listening to him on a podcast just today, and he said that the ugliest properties and the properties that are the least attractive have always been the ones that perform the highest and you get the best yield. So sometimes just because you wouldn't live there doesn't mean that someone else wouldn't love to make it their home. So yeah.
Yep. Excellent. Now, my tip of the week this week, as we're getting closer to Christmas, it's something that you should be mindful about, but don't over stress about it either. And that is being conscious of when your tenant's lease expires. So a lot of property managers won't want their lease agreement to expire, say, between like the 15th of December till about the 10th of January. So if you have a lease that is due to expire coming up maybe around let's call it the 21st of December, instead of doing a 12-month lease renewal for that client, maybe just look at extending that a little bit longer. So have it start on the 21st of December this year, but have it expire sort of on the 10th of January or something like that after that break. Just having that little bit of buffer means that you reduce that risk of that property being vacant over Christmas time. And that's just something to consider. Yeah, if your lease expires during that time, just ask your property manager to simply extend it a little bit further, and it shouldn't be any problems to do that. So that is my tip of the week.
Yeah, even just to go further onto that, a valid question to ask your property manager is, what is the peak time of the year? So, like, for example, in Logan and Brisbane, I really love leases expiring at the end of January, early Feb. Like, that's when people are moving into the area before school starting. So there's a huge influx. So asking, and just because it's not a specific 6 or 12-month lease, we can issue 13-month leases, 13.5-month leases. And often the tenants won't have a problem in signing just a slightly long lease to get us out of a weird time of the year. So ask your property manager what's the peak time of the year for that region, and try and have that expiry in that peak time. It'll, yeah, just a small little admin thing can, I think, add hundreds each year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great tips, Jackie. And we will chat next week. Can I suggest something for us to chat about next week? I saw PK post something yesterday, I think it was, and he posted I should probably know exactly what it said, but it was suggesting that property managers weren't increasing their rents enough, and to make sure that clients double check. And I would love to, maybe if we could have a chat about his post. I didn't comment on it, but I'd love to have that discussion with you next week about whether property managers do or don't increase it enough, and maybe what a landlord could do and what they should do if they are thinking that their property manager isn't, because I think we'll probably both agree that there's situations where owners also think that their property's worth a lot more than what it actually is, and they need to also trust the on the ground support. So there's quite a bit to divulge in that. If we can do that next week. So those that are listening, jump on same time next week, and we will talk about rent increases and are property managers being too generous to tenants, or are they doing the right thing?
Interesting. I'm excited to talk about it. All right, Ash, well, you have a wonderful week. Thanks for jumping on. I will talk to you then.
Catch up. Bye.
See ya.